So welcome back to Kaleidoscope. I'm talking to Mr. Granville Cross, former Director of Public Prosecutions, about the administration's proposal to extend the extradition arrangement to Taiwan, to Macau and mainland China, and to other jurisdictions where we have no such formal arrangement. And now, Granville, you may be singing the praise of the Chinese criminals.
No, I'm not singing the praise. I'm saying that it's not as bad. There have been some improvement.
Yeah.
They have been trying.
But now, apart from the lawyers, many lawyers who are concerned, there are many business people who are even more concerned. And then we've got the Bar the American Chamber of Commerce and also local chambers who have come out and they say, oh, their laws are very vague. We don't know when we have a transgression. It's very unfair and very dangerous to us. So why don't you do this? You go ahead and do it. But take out the white-collar crimes, the economic crimes. Just leave the violent crimes like, you know, arson, like murder and all those. Do you think that's a good idea?
Well, I think
do you think it's a fair idea?
Not really, no. I don't. I mean, white-collar crime, embezzlement, stealing other people's money, fraud, can be a very serious offence.
Look at Patrick Ho in New York.
Well, that's more corruption there.
Corruption.
That is corruption. But,
that's also very serious.
But stealing people's money can be and have terrible effects on the victims who lose their life savings, for example.
So you don't agree?
Well, I mean, it can certainly be looked at, but I mean, my instinctive reaction is that given that white-collar crime is a very serious offence and can have very serious consequences on victims, then it would have to take a very strong reasoning to justify giving it any special treatment. White-collar criminals are just as much criminals as any other types of criminal. And if they've committed serious offences in the mainland, or in Taiwan, or in Macau, or anywhere else, they should not think that they can escape their just deserts.
So far you have not been convinced by the arguments put forward by certain business people who think that such certain crimes should be excluded. They say, do the first tranche, just do the few violent crimes.
Well, I see no logical basis for it. A serious crime is a serious crime, whether it's sexual in nature, whether it involves wounding, whether it involves fraud or embezzlement. And white-collar criminals should not, in my view, be receiving any sort of special treatment. If they've committed crimes, and it can be established they've committed crimes, then they should be treated like other types of criminal.
Yes, and some people, of course, would argue that if you think their legal system or the judicial system is not fair, so why send certain people there to be tried there and not others?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And of course, when the courts examine a request for the return of a suspect, they will ensure that the charge is not vague, that it's clearly made out, and that it has its mirror image in an offence here in Hong Kong. And they will want to see the evidence in support of that charge as well, because don't forget that has to be supplied to the Hong Kong court.
Now you say that, because some lawyers argue that, you know, when you present this to court, they just need a prima facie evidence,
well, that is the test.
not
that
beyond reasonable.
That is the test.
Yeah, so they think that the test is too low.
It's the same test which is used everywhere in the common law world. It's the standard test. And these people who say there's going to be all these problems, I hope they're not right. But let's just look at the other 40 countries which have had extradition arrangements with China and are returning fugitives. So far as I'm aware, none of them have complained that China has acted in contravention of the guarantees it's given when the suspects have been returned from those 40 countries.
So, well, one actor has complained, and that's Taiwan. Because actually that's the reason for them coming forward to plug this loophole or whatever, as you said earlier. Taiwan, the officials there yesterday made a statement, because they are not in favor of this current way of doing it. They think the government, if they really want to solve the homicide case last year, they can just have an agreement with Taiwan. Of course, need Beijing's approval, but just do it very narrowly with Taiwan. And their argument is, because if you open it like this, case by case, not just Hong Kong residents, you or me, anybody traveling in Hong Kong, passing through, they can be subjected to it. And then the Taiwanese people who come here or travel through Hong Kong, they could be arrested and handed to the mainland. And what are they going to do? They say if that should happen, they are going to issue a travel advisory to tell their people, now, if you go to Hong Kong, you may be in danger. What do you think?
Well, how many people in Taiwan do you think have allegedly committed offences in mainland China or Macau or anywhere else for that matter? Certainly, if they have committed offences, then they should be brought to justice. And they can't say that we should escape it because it's only white collar crime. And white collar crime doesn't really matter. That's absolutely nonsensical. If someone has committed a crime in mainland China, then they should be treated in the same way as anyone else, any other type of criminal.
So you think?
And they can't say we want special treatment because our crime is not a serious one or is not as bad as other types.
I don't think that's Taiwan's argument. They just don't want anything to do with the mainland.
Well,
They say, okay, you Hong Kong, you want to help us to solve the homicide case? Good. You enact legislation to enable you to return the fugitive to Taiwan for trial.
Well, let me pick you up on that. You said they don't want anything to do with the mainland. Did you know that in 1990, Taiwan and mainland China signed the Kinmen Agreement, also known as the Quemoy Agreement, whereby this was done at a non-governmental level. But under that agreement, offenders can be returned. And initially, my understanding is that that's confined to non-economic crimes. This agreement was formalised in the year 2009 and put on the level of judicial cooperation between the two judiciaries. And since that time, it's also been extended to economic crimes. So it ill behoves Taiwan, in my view, to say that Hong Kong should not be sending people back when it has this agreement in place with the mainland itself. It makes no sense for that to be argued.
I see. So they said they allowed their people to.
That was their agreement. I mean, you look it up, the Kinmen Agreement, signed in 1990 and then extended in the year 2009.
Yeah. And now they come out to say all these things. So you think it's illogical?
Well, it seems illogical on its face unless they can provide a very good explanation.
Now, so you say it is now even, and then the foreigners, European Union, they spoke out last week, and other governments have spoken out, which attracted the Ministry of Foreign Affairs here to also issue statement to tell the foreigners, please don't interfere in Hong Kong affairs. Do you think the foreign chambers of commerce, the European Union office, or the American government, whatever other government, you think they have a right to speak out if government is making such a proposal? And if it is enacted, it could affect anybody here.
Well, just remember, it's rather strange that the EU should be expressing concern about the proposal when some of its own member states already have similar types of agreements for surrendering fugitives with mainland China. I mentioned France, Spain, Portugal, I think Romania is another one, and just, I say last year, Bulgaria returned a suspect to the mainland, first time for corruption. Last month, 2 Taiwanese suspects were returned by Spain to the mainland. To face fraud,
That's terrible.
To face fraud. Yeah, so it is terrible. These places.
They're from Taiwan and they returned them to the mainland.
Well, the offences were allegedly committed in the mainland. So it's very strange the European Union should be condemning Hong Kong for considering this proposal when its own countries, some of its own countries, have signed similar agreements with mainland China already.
I don't think they're condemning it as such. They are just asking for more time because it's so controversial. More views should be expressed. And I don't know the rules of the EU, whether because 1 or 2 or 3 countries have agreed to do certain things that it would bind everybody. I don't know about that. But what my question to you is, are foreigners, foreign governments, foreign chambers of commerce, organizations, should they have the freedom to express their views about this proposal?
Well, anyone can express their views, but it'd be far better if it was based on reality. And if their own countries in the European Union have gone ahead and signed agreements with China for the return of fugitive offenders, it makes any criticism of the European Union or its representatives that much the weaker and suggests that the criticism is not well-founded. They should be complaining about their own members rather than complaining about Hong Kong.
I suggest the European Union should talk to
And of course, it's not just the European Union, it's countries, South Africa, countries in this part of the world as well that have these type of agreements with China.
So you say that you don't agree with the business community's proposal to exclude certain economic crimes.
Well, as I explained, white-collar crime is a serious crime.
But the administration, well, you've worked in the administration for so many years, you know that when ordinary people speak, they don't care. But when the business community speak, they perk up their ears and listen. And you look at the Secretary for Security, John Lee, he went to different chambers of commerce to listen to them. And now, I don't know whether they're going to make any changes. So, what advice have you got for the administration? They are trembling in their boots because the business community is saying, oh no, we don't want that, affects our interests.
Well, I think John Lee's position is that he'll consider all the views, and if they're rational and sensible, he might take them on board. But as I say, what is sauce for the goose is also sauce for the gander. And if countries around the world are negotiating and have negotiated surrender agreements with mainland China, then there can be no objection to Hong Kong going down the same path, provided, of course, that it's done through the courts and that international guarantees are observed. Which takes me back to my initial point, that we have a first-class legal system and we must have confidence in our judiciary.
Well, I think you have to talk to your brothers and sisters in the legal fraternity, because I'm sure many of them are not convinced by your argument.
But if you are, that's the main thing.
And I guess it's not the first time that you disagree with your brethren, isn't it?
Well, lawyers often have different views.
That's true. Otherwise, why are there so many cases in court? I remember one of my former colleagues, who's also a lawyer, Ronald Kelly, when we were discussing things in LegCo, and some say, on the one hand, on the other hand, Ron said, no, give me a one-armed lawyer.
What a boring world it would be if all the lawyers agreed.
What did Shakespeare say about the lawyers?
You tell me.
Kill all the lawyers. So,
But leave some though, because we need good lawyers to handle the extradition cases.
but the administration is really in a bind. Because A, of course, they are very frightened of the business community, but B, it's more realistic. The votes. If they don't have enough votes in the council, then of course it cannot go through. And now they're being humiliated in the council because they have a transport proposal about the 3 tunnels, and they could not get even the DAB and the FTU to agree. So I think they have to withdraw that for the second time. And if they have to withdraw this again, there will be no face, no authority. So what do you think?
Well, you're the politician, so you must let me know about that. What I can say, Hong Kong has lost a lot of face by the fact it has become a place where criminals from other jurisdictions are able to claim safe refuge. I mean, I know no other country in the world which allows criminals, suspected criminals, fugitives, to avoid justice by simply moving to another one of its constituent parts. No country allows that apart from China. And quite clearly, it's the administration in general, and John Lee in particular, is showing great responsibility by trying to finally rectify that situation. As you mentioned, it's gone on for well over 20 years, and this must now be sorted out in the name of effective criminal justice in this part of the world.
Well, I have seen many reports, opinion surveys on Hong Kong, the rule of law situation, the judicial system, and they all think very highly of Hong Kong.
Oh, yeah.
And nobody has ever picked up this point to say, oh look, you are really, it's shame on you. It's until now when you say it, that make me feel that it is such a big problem.
Well, it is a big problem. I mean, over 300 fugitives apparently from mainland China, unknown number from Macau, some from Taiwan. It obviously needs to be resolved, and there may be some from other jurisdictions that we don't know about, other countries.
Well, you know, when the mainland official talked about the 300, somebody asked John Lee, the Secretary for Security, and John said, I don't know, because we have no arrangement with them, so we don't keep track of the numbers. But you think it's a big problem. So you think
well, certainly in terms of effective criminal justice, the fact that people can evade their just deserts by simply coming to Hong Kong, one part of China, and being able to cock a snook at criminal justice is clearly unsatisfactory. Whether it's talked about a lot or not, it's clearly not something that's good for Hong Kong. Particularly, as you say, it's well regarded internationally in criminal justice circles and rule of law circles. But that could change if it continues to be known as a place where fugitives can claim safe haven.
Granville, until this Taiwan homicide case cropped up, I don't think even government officials or others have come up and talk about it in terms that you just described.
But what they have been doing, they're fully aware of the problem, which is why they've been trying to negotiate a comprehensive rendition agreement with mainland China and with Macau. but that has got nowhere.
Why should it get nowhere if there are so many standards
Well,
which have been applied in so many other places? Why shouldn't we just follow them?
Well, I haven't been party to the discussions, and they haven't, and no clear reason has been given, except to say that there are problems and differences in the legal systems.
Yeah.
But fortunately now a way round that is being offered, and I think it's a step in the right direction,
Well,
provided legal guarantees and safeguards are there.
well, whether it's a step in the right direction, we will find out. But thank you very much to my friend Granville for coming onto my show. Thank you, Granville.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay.